Kia ora koutou. I still really remember the day quite vividly when I went into that really weird little office that the careers guidance counsellor lived in at school, and I asked them how I could become a bookbinder. And at that stage I was totally obsessed with books. I was reading at them, looking at them, collecting them. I only wanted to spend all my time reading them. I decided I definitely wanted to be a bookbinder, but he told me in no uncertain terms, you're not going to like it. It's overrun by blokes and the pay is really shit. And both of those things turned out to be true, but it didn't stop me from stubbornly finding a way to become eventually a bookbinder and much more. And I thought I'd talk to you today about how this curiosity and stubbornness has kind of guided me through my whole career, and how I went from this bookish, nerdy indoors art student to pitching tents in some of the remotest places on earth. And I have to say that along the way, I've found every single part of studying and working life just fascinating. I could have, at that point at school, gone off to uni to do English, but I really wanted to make things. And so, because I thought bookbinding was off the table, I looked for a course on making other things, and I ended up spending 3 years at Polytech doing the craft design course, as it was called at the time. And the final year, there was unexpectedly a short block course on bookbinding. And then, of course, common story, I met a guy, fell in love, moved to Auckland and needed a job to pay the rent. And so what I did was I cold called every single bookbinder in the city until one of them said, yes, we got some casual work. It was badly paid. It was in a horrible factory. It looked a lot like this. And it was surrounded by old blokes who used a lot of swear words, but I absolutely loved it. And I did that for about 4 years. And 4 years later, I thought I was doing this fantastic job at fixing old books, saving them, I thought I was. And so then I met this book conservator at the Auckland Special Collections in the Auckland Library, and she showed me exactly how I was actually butchering the books and not helping them at all. And she said I needed to go off and study proper conservation in a university overseas. So in a fit of optimism, I applied to Camberwell College and bought a plane ticket. And then I couldn't find the $120,000 I needed to study at the course, and so through scholarships. So I went to England anyway with £800 in my pocket and cold called all of the libraries and binderies I could think of, saying, has anyone got a job? And one of them gave me a short-term contract. So the first job that I got wasn't actually that flash, but that led to what was really cool was an apprenticeship at the British Library. And eventually I ended up working in the library studios up at St Pancras, learning how to carry out repairs and treatments on everything from ancient Egyptian papyrus through to Islamic manuscripts, through to medieval manuscripts and early printed books. It was really, really cool learning all of that practical stuff, but it was so badly paid that I had to have a second job in the evenings as an usher at the Royal Opera House. But I knew that if I wanted more money, this is becoming a recurring theme obviously in my life here, if I wanted more money, I needed a qualification to get those high paying jobs. And so I decided that I could persuade the British Library to give me a paid secondment to go off and do a postgrad diploma at Westdean College, which is this place. I did 1 year there. It was a conservation of books and library and archival materials postgrad diploma. And during that time, like one of our previous speakers has mentioned, I filled in a lot of holes in my CV. I went off and did internships on preservation surveys in Cambridge and Sussex. I managed volunteers to do these short-term projects in similar small collections in London. I studied chemistry, always a weak point, and some particular repair techniques on books that I hadn't had a chance to use yet. I just finished that course when this unusually, for the time, a job came up in Wellington at the National Library for the senior book conservator. The previous guy had that for like 20 years, and it was like, oh my God, the job's open, I've got to apply. So I hadn't been planning on coming home, but it was a really rare opportunity. And so I did the interview on the phone, not quite in my pyjamas, but I definitely had a couple of whiskies before the interview as I was so nervous. It went quite well, they couldn't see me, and I got the job. And I found that the National Library here is full of treasures. My job had 2 focal points. It had this huge newspaper collection, which was being digitised for Papers Past, which you're all probably fans of, and the special collections at the Alexander Turnbull Library needed earthquake restraints fitted to all of the shelving, so I organised a huge project to move all the books out, put the restraints on the shelves and move them all back into the right place. So then what happened was I met some local conservators who'd just spent a summer in Antarctica working at the expedition bases of Scott and Shackleton, and they told me that the Antarctic Heritage Trust was looking for someone like me to spend a winter in Antarctica conserving the books and the paper objects for the huts of Scott and Shackleton. I didn't really think twice. I thought only scientists could go to Antarctica, and I jumped at the chance. I was hooked straight away by the challenges of how you protect heritage in an uncontrolled environment, how you can keep a heritage site as close as you possibly can to what it was originally, with with as few barriers between people and the original material as possible. More than that, I was just hooked on the place. What an incredible environment. It's beautiful, it's wild, it's still, and it puts your place on the planet in a particular perspective. Very humbling, and I was surrounded by these amazing people. So at the end of that contract, the Trust asked me to apply for a role leading the artefact conservation program, which, if I'm honest, they had to persuade me into because I thought I didn't have any skills, but it turned out that all the years working in small teams and doing difficult, grungy projects was quite useful. And so today, after 16 years of working with the Trust, I have to say that every single day is still fun. It's challenging, hard, bloody work, but it's never boring. And I lead teams and manage programs to deliver conservation solutions for different parts of the sites. And right now, for example, we're working on archaeology outputs, including GIS mapping of the sites. We're looking at the mechanics of buildings and how you can bring in passive ventilation to help them survive in a better state. We're looking at how to reduce salt-accelerated corrosion on metal objects. And I'm planning to go to Antarctica on a yacht next year, which scares the crap out of me, but I'm really, really keen to give it a go. So people, it's the best part of the whole thing. My teams are full of amazing people, and I just would like to think that, that overall you can find a path like that which works for you and where you end up working with people that you love. Good luck.